A drink that betrays you. What if I told you the drink in your hand right now, the glass of wine you pour with dinner, the cold beer after mowing the lawn, or that quiet sip of whiskey before bed, may not be the comfort you think it is? What if instead it was quietly betraying the very heart that has kept you alive through every milestone, every celebration, every single morning you've woken up to see another day? I don't say this to scare you. I say it because after 30 years as a heart doctor, I've seen the same heartbreaking story play out again and again. Seniors who look healthy on the outside, who laugh, joke and say, "Oh, I just have a little drink now and then, nothing serious." They believe it's harmless. Some even believe it's healthy. But then the tests come back, and the truth is written in their heart rhythms, their blood pressure, their arteries. And here's the twist. It's not always the heavy drinking that does the most damage. It's the quiet rituals. The nightly glass of wine that feels elegant. The weekend beers that feel casual. The occasional cocktail that feels festive. These small habits feel like nothing in the moment, but they add up, sip by sip, year by year, until one day the heart can't take the load anymore. I've had patients who swore to me they were doing everything right. They ate their vegetables, walked every morning, kept up with their medications. But when I looked closer, I saw the silent stress on their heart caused by alcohol, high blood pressure creeping upward, a rhythm that was starting to skip, a heart muscle that wasn't as strong as it should be. And the saddest part, most of them had no idea. Now here's where I need your attention, because I know how easy it is to say, "That won't happen to me," or "I've been drinking this way for years and I feel fine." But the truth is, damage doesn't always announce itself until it's too late. A stroke, a heart attack, or a diagnosis that suddenly steals your energy, your freedom, your independence. I don't want that for you. I want you to have more mornings, more laughter, more of those moments with your family where you feel truly alive. And that's why I'm asking you, begging you, really, to listen carefully as I walk you through 5 specific drinks that may be hurting your heart more than helping it. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which drinks to let go of, and more importantly, what you can replace them with so you don't feel deprived. Because this isn't about giving things up. It's about gaining something far more valuable. More years, more health, more life. So before we dive in, do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell. That way you won't miss the heart-saving tips I share just for you. And if you're curious whether one of the drinks I'll mention is already sitting in your fridge, stick with me. You may be surprised. Red wine, the elegant myth. Let's start with the one I hear about most often. Red wine. For decades now, there's been this idea floating around, whispered by friends, written in glossy magazines, even repeated on TV talk shows, that a nightly glass of red wine is good for your heart. It sounds elegant, almost medicinal, doesn't it? Picture this, a nice dinner, soft music, a glass of Merlot in your hand. You might even toast to your health as you take that first sip. I understand the appeal. Truly, I do. I've had patients come into my office proudly telling me, "Don't worry, doc, I only drink 1 glass of red wine at night, and it's good for my heart." And they believe it with all their being, because that's what they've been told for years. But here's the truth I've learned after 30 years of treating seniors. After age 60, that nightly ritual isn't protecting your heart at all. In fact, it may be quietly wearing it down. Here's why. As we get older, our bodies simply don't process alcohol the way they used to. The liver slows down, making it harder to break alcohol down safely. The heart itself becomes more sensitive, more vulnerable to small changes in pressure and rhythm. And our blood vessels, they stiffen with age, which means even a modest nightly glass of wine can start to raise blood pressure over time. I've seen this play out in real life. One of my patients, a kind man in his 70s, swore by his one healthy glass of wine every evening. He exercised, he ate well, but he ended up in the hospital with an irregular heartbeat, a condition we call atrial fibrillation. He was shocked, and the only habit we could tie it back to was that daily ritual with wine. What makes it even trickier is the way alcohol interferes with your sleep. Yes, that glass of wine might make you feel drowsy, but the sleep it gives you is shallow and fragmented. And poor sleep raises stress hormones like cortisol, which put even more pressure on your heart. It's like robbing your body of the very rest it needs to heal. And let's not forget about medications. So many seniors I treat are on pills for blood pressure, cholesterol, or diabetes. Alcohol can blunt those medications, or worse, interact with them in dangerous ways. You think you're helping your heart, but in reality, you might be undoing the very benefit your medicine is supposed to give you. Now, I'm not here to scold or shame. Life is about small pleasures, and I respect that. But I am here to tell you the truth, so you can make choices that give your heart a fighting chance. If you've been holding on to that glass of red wine because you thought it was your nightly medicine, I urge you to reconsider. Your heart doesn't need ethanol. It needs hydration. Water, sparkling water with lemon, herbal tea, these nourish rather than strain the rhythm that has been faithfully beating inside you for decades. So tonight, when you reach for that wine glass, pause. Ask yourself, is this habit serving my heart or silently hurting it? Because the truth is, your heart deserves better. And speaking of drinks that seem harmless but aren't, let's talk about the one that's sold to us as light and easy. Yes, I'm talking about beer. Beer, the light illusion. Now let's move on to another favourite, one that's often marketed as light, easy and harmless. Beer. It's the drink of ball games, backyard barbecues, and quiet evenings in front of the TV. You've seen the commercials. Laughter, friends clinking bottles, smiles all around. It feels refreshing, casual, almost innocent compared to a shot of whiskey or a stiff martini. And for many seniors, a cold beer at the end of the day feels like a well-earned reward. But let me pull back the curtain for you. Beer may seem lighter than liquor, but for your heart, especially after 60, it can be deceptively heavy. Here's the problem. Beer is loaded with starches and sugars that your aging metabolism struggles to handle. What your body doesn't burn off, it stores. And the first place it stores it, around your waistline. That beer belly isn't just about looks. It's visceral fat, the kind that wraps around your internal organs. This type of fat acts like a tiny chemical factory, pumping out hormones and inflammatory substances that stiffen arteries, raise blood pressure, and damage the lining of your blood vessels. I had a patient, a cheerful man in his late 60s, who told me with a grin, "Doc, it's just 2 beers a night. I don't get drunk." And he was right, he didn't. But what he didn't realize was that even those 2 beers were enough to gradually raise his blood pressure and weaken his heart muscle. By the time he noticed shortness of breath on his daily walks, the damage was already well underway. And here's another twist. Beer often takes the place of water. Seniors are already more prone to dehydration, and beer only makes that worse. When your body is dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker, harder to pump, and more likely to form dangerous clots. Add in the alcohol's effect on your blood pressure and heart rhythm, and suddenly that light beer is anything but gentle. The tragedy is that so many older adults don't drink beer to get drunk. They drink it to unwind, to relax while reading the news or watching their favourite show. But what seems like a harmless evening ritual can quietly add up over months and years until the heart starts to fail. It doesn't happen with a bang. It happens slowly, until suddenly. Now, I'm not here to judge your habits. I know how comforting routines can be, especially in this stage of life. But I am here to remind you that every heartbeat you have is precious. And the truth is, your heart is begging for something different. Hydration, rest, nourishment, not another bottle of beer. So here's my challenge to you. Tonight, swap that beer for a tall glass of water with lemon, or maybe an herbal tea. It might feel like a small change, but to your heart, it's a huge relief. That one swap could give you better sleep, lower blood pressure, and more energy in the morning. Because beer may be advertised as light, but the truth is, its impact on your heart is anything but. And if you think beer is the only sweet-tasting danger in your glass, wait until you hear about cocktails. Colourful, sugary, and far more deceptive than you realise. Cocktails, sweet but dangerous. Now let's talk about a drink that doesn't just sit in a plain glass. It arrives with flair. Colourful, sweet, sometimes topped with whipped cream or garnished with a little umbrella. Yes, I'm talking about cocktails. There's something undeniably festive about them, isn't there? A cocktail feels like a treat, a reward after a long week, a little vacation in a glass. For many seniors, it's a way to reconnect with memories of travel, celebrations, or even just to feel a touch of luxury. A margarita on a summer day, a daiquiri with friends, a creamy after-dinner drink that feels like dessert. It's indulgent, fun, and yes, comforting. But here's the truth we don't often say out loud. Behind that sweetness, cocktails are one of the most deceptive dangers for your heart after 60. Why? Because that's the tricky part. Cocktails mask the strength of the alcohol. They're easy to sip, easy to overdo, and easy to underestimate. At a party, you might think you've only had a couple of drinks, when in reality, your heart is processing the equivalent of several shots of liquor laced with sugar. And the more your heart has to strain, the closer you move toward conditions like atrial fibrillation, a rhythm problem that triples your risk of stroke. Now, I'm not saying you should never celebrate. Joy matters, connection matters. But what I am saying is be smart about how you do it. Because there are other ways to raise a glass that don't quietly damage your heart. Mocktails, for example, have exploded in popularity. You can mix sparkling water with fresh fruit juice, add mint leaves, or even create fancy blends that look just as festive as a cocktail, without the sugar and alcohol weighing you down. So next time you're handed a cocktail at a party, pause. Ask yourself, is this moment of sweetness worth the silent strain on my heart? Or could I choose something that lets me celebrate and protect my future? Because here's the truth. Cocktails may look like fun on the outside, but inside they're a double-edged sword. And if you think that's bad, wait until we talk about the one drink that doesn't even bother to hide its strength. Hard liquor. Hard liquor, the silent strain. Now let's talk about the drink that doesn't pretend to be light or sweet. No sugarcoating, no fancy umbrella. Just a straight pour. Whiskey, vodka, brandy, maybe a splash of gin. Hard liquor. For many older adults, there's something about hard liquor that feels timeless. A glass of bourbon by the fire. A sip of brandy to settle the nerves. A small shot of vodka before bed. It's simple, it's strong, and in many ways, it carries a sense of pride. Maybe it reminds you of younger days, when a stiff drink meant resilience and strength. Or maybe it feels like a ritual now, a quiet moment to mark the end of the day. But here's the reality your heart knows, even if you don't feel it right away. After 60, that same glass doesn't just take the edge off. It takes a toll. A toll that your body, and especially your heart, isn't built to pay anymore. Hard liquor is concentrated alcohol. That means it hits fast, it hits hard, and it leaves your cardiovascular system scrambling to adjust. Within minutes, it can constrict your blood vessels and spike your blood pressure. Dangerous at any age, but particularly risky when arteries are already less flexible, when your heart is already working harder just to keep pace. I've seen seniors who poured just a little each night, only to end up in the ER with chest pain or dizziness. In some cases, even mini-strokes. They never thought a nightcap could lead to such chaos inside their body. But what seems like a small sip for your peace of mind can quickly become a heavy weight on your heart. And here's something else most people don't realize. Alcohol lingers longer in older bodies. Your liver is slower to process it, which means your heart is under stress for hours after that drink. It beats harder, sometimes irregularly, and you may not even notice until the damage has piled up. And if you're taking medication for blood pressure, diabetes or cholesterol, that's when things get even riskier. Hard liquor can interact in unpredictable and dangerous ways, undoing the very treatment that's supposed to protect you. One of my patients, a widower in his 70s, told me he looked forward to his nightly whiskey because it helped soften the silence of the evening. I understood his loneliness, but I also saw how his heart rhythm was faltering, how his blood pressure was climbing. What he thought was a friend in the quiet was, in truth, a hidden strain pulling him closer to heart failure. Now, I don't share this to scare you, but to help you see the choice clearly. Ask yourself, is this glass really helping me feel strong, or is it just helping me forget I feel weak? Because strength, true strength, doesn't come from a bottle. It comes from giving your body and your heart the care it needs to keep beating strong. And if you've been sipping liquor to help you sleep, we need to talk. Because alcohol as a sleep aid isn't the friend it promises to be. In fact, it's the next hidden danger, one that steals the rest your heart desperately craves. Drinking to sleep, the restless trap. Let's talk about a habit that many people keep quiet, using alcohol as a sleep aid. If you're over 60, you know how elusive sleep can become. Nights feel longer, thoughts grow louder, and the silence of the evening can sometimes feel like a weight. I've had countless patients confess to me, "Doc, the only thing that helps me drift off is a glass of wine or a shot of whiskey." And I believe them, because yes, alcohol does make you drowsy at first. It feels like a shortcut into sleep. But here's the catch. What alcohol gives you at the start of the night, it steals back in the middle of the night. Instead of leading you into the deep, restorative rest your body craves, alcohol disrupts your natural sleep cycle. It blocks REM sleep, the stage when your brain restores itself, your heart rate stabilizes, and your blood pressure comes back into balance. Without REM sleep, your heart never gets the full rest it needs. It keeps working overtime while you think you're sleeping. That's why so many seniors wake up groggy, anxious, or with a racing heartbeat, never realizing it's not just aging. It's the drink they had before bed. One of my patients, a sweet woman in her 70s, told me she relied on a nightly glass of sherry to help her sleep. "It's the only way I can quiet my mind," she said. But when we checked her heart, we found her blood pressure was spiking during the night. She had no idea. She thought she was helping herself rest, when in fact, her heart was running a midnight marathon. And here's another danger: dependence. What begins as just one nightcap now and then can quietly turn into a nightly ritual. Over time, your body builds tolerance, meaning you need more alcohol to get the same drowsy effect. That's when the heart is at even greater risk. More alcohol, more disruption, more damage. Now, I understand why so many turn to this habit. Loneliness, racing thoughts, the simple need for comfort. I've seen it in my own patients, and I have deep compassion for it. But here's the truth. Alcohol doesn't solve the problem of sleepless nights. It masks it while creating new ones. So what's the alternative? Gentle routines that signal to your body it's time to rest. Herbal teas like chamomile or valerian root. Soft, calming music. Breathing exercises that quiet the nervous system. Even something as simple as dimming the lights and shutting off screens an hour before bed can make a world of difference. These habits don't just get you to sleep. They help your heart heal while you rest. Because here's the painful irony. The very habit meant to bring peace becomes a hidden source of harm. And you deserve better. You deserve rest that restores you, not rest that betrays you. And if you think alcohol only causes trouble at night, let me show you how it shows up in the daylight, in the form of silent high blood pressure and heart strain that too many seniors never see coming. A heart that still wants to heal. After decades of practice as a heart doctor, there's one truth I wish I could place gently into every senior's hands. Your body is still capable of healing. Yes, alcohol can quietly damage the heart. Yes, those nightly rituals, the wine, the beer, the cocktail, the whiskey, even that sleep aid drink, can slowly wear down the very rhythm that's kept you alive through every joy and every loss. But here's the most beautiful part of the story. Your heart is still asking for help, and it's not too late to listen. I've seen patients in their 70s and even 80s who made one small change, cutting back on alcohol, drinking more water, getting better sleep, and within months their blood pressure steadied, their energy returned, their eyes sparkled with new life. They didn't need to be perfect. They didn't need to overhaul everything at once. They simply chose differently, one day at a time. And their hearts responded with gratitude. Think about what your heart has done for you. It's carried you through family milestones, through celebrations, through heartbreaks. It has beaten every single moment of your life without asking for anything in return. But now, after 60, it's asking for your awareness, your care, your intention. The drinks that once felt harmless, social, or comforting may no longer serve you. They may, in fact, be the very thing quietly stealing years of energy and vitality. But here's the truth. This isn't about losing something. It's about gaining more. More mornings with energy. More walks without breathlessness. More laughter with the people you love. More of the life you've worked so hard to enjoy. So tonight, make one decision. Just one. Skip the drink. Pour a tall glass of water. Choose rest that restores you instead of rest that betrays you. That one decision ripples forward into better heart rhythms, better sleep, and a stronger tomorrow. Because your heart doesn't need perfection. It doesn't need you to erase the past. It needs kindness. It needs consistency. It needs you to choose it just as it has always chosen you. And here's the empowering truth. It's never too late to begin. Not yesterday, not last year, not a decade ago. Today, right now. So I'll leave you with this. Your heart has never forgotten you. Don't forget it. Choose to honor it with the love, the care, and the protection it deserves. Now, I'd love to hear from you. In the comments, share one small change you plan to make for your heart today. Let's build a community of encouragement right here, because your story may inspire someone else to start their journey too. And if this video spoke to you, please give it a like, share it with someone you love, and don't forget to subscribe for more heart-healthy tips. Here's to you, to living fully, vibrantly, and with a heart that doesn't just beat, but thrives. Thanks for watching this video.